How many tires are in dumps globally? According to a report by the Tire Industry Project for the World Business Council on Sustainable Development, 1 billion end-of-life tires are generated every year, and there are currently 4 billion such tires in landfills and stockpiles worldwide. Currently, we are generating more waste than can be recycled. Keeping your tires on your vehicle for as long as possible is an environmental priority. Let's look at how we can do that. Hi, and welcome to Drive, your source for automotive reviews, analysis, maintenance, and restorations. Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell. Also, follow us on Twitter. Welcome to Drive, your source for automotive reviews, analysis, maintenance, and restorations. Please subscribe to our channel, like the video, and click on the notification bell. Also, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and please recommend us to your friends. I'm Chris Capredoni, and today's tutorial is all about tires. I will probably not address all aspects on this subject, but will most likely provide additional videos on the subject based on viewer comments and suggestions. I'm going to break up this video into several sections so that hopefully I have something for everyone. The sections will be number 1, wheel removal and installation. Number 2, tire problems, cracks, treadwear, punctures. Number 3, tire maintenance, discussing air pressure, valve checks, and determining the depth of your tread. Number 4, how to read and understand tire sizes and other important information that's embossed on your sidewall. Number 5, types of tires. And finally, number 6, tire sizing for your vehicle. So the first section is wheel removal and installation. Safety is the number 1 priority when removing wheels from any vehicle. Personal injury or vehicle damage can easily occur when one or more wheels is removed. Find the vehicle lift jack points, and you can usually find this information either from your owner's manual or online. For this BMW X5, there are 4 lift points that you require a lift jack pad in order to safely lift the vehicle from any one of the corners. Before you do any of that, ensure that you've chalked one or more of the wheels on the opposite side of the vehicle to avoid a rolling collapse. If possible, use jack stands to ensure stability. So before you lift the vehicle, what you want to do is loosen all of the lug nuts or bolts before you lift the wheel off the ground. So what you do is you just use a wrench with a proper socket and put it on the nut and lift to loosen them. If you have one that's a lock, you need to find your key. This BMW has one that has it's a locked one, and you just put the key on it in order to allow you to put the socket to loosen it. Now, when you're loosening either the lug nuts or the bolts, if you have difficulty using just a standard wrench, what you can do is buy an extension pipe, put it on the end to allow yourself to have more leverage in order to loosen the bolt. But be very careful not to apply so much force that you're going to snap it. If using a smaller extension bar is not enough, you can use what's called a cheater bar. A cheater bar is basically the same version of this, only about 1.5 meters or 5 feet long. And again, you apply it to the end, and you apply leverage from the very end. That should break free any sort of stubborn lug nut or bolt. But be very careful and gentle in the amount of pressure that you apply and how quickly you apply, because in that instance, you can actually snap the stem. Okay, one additional note on removal of wheels. Many people have asked me whether they should use air or electric guns in order to remove the fasteners. And my general advice is not to, because these can apply a lot of torque most of the time at the inappropriate moment, and you run the risk of again snapping a stem. Also, these should not be used in order to approximate the proper torque when you reinstall, that should be done with a proper torque wrench. Never use one of these. So pay special attention to the lug nuts or bolts. You want to look for any sort of damage to them, whether there's swelling, cracking, or some sort of other damage. Swollen nuts will be impossible to properly retorque. The same with damaged bolts. So if you do find damage with anything, do not put them back on, actually replace them. So what I've done here is I've actually removed all of the bolts. The wheel is, the car has been properly lifted and secured. So I'm ready now to remove the wheel from the hub. So what you do is you grab the wheel and you pull it away. If you have trouble pulling it off the vehicle, sometimes a very thin layer of rust will form between the back of the wheel and the hub mounting area. And what you want to do is bang on the sides in order to crack it loose. If necessary, you can use a rubber mallet because that won't damage either the wheel or the rubber. But let's try. Okay, so pull it off and away from the vehicle. So I've just pulled the wheel off of the hub. If you're doing a seasonal tire change, like putting snow tires on, it's a good idea to mark the back of the tire with the location that you pulled the tire off. So for example, this one here is on the left side of the vehicle, front. So what I would be doing is putting an LF, and that will indicate that it's the left side of the vehicle, front. If it was the other side, it would be right front, so RF. And again, for the back, that wheel there would be LR for left rear. This is also a good chance to inspect the inside of the wheel in order to see if there's any sort of damage, any sort of bulges in the sidewall, any sort of cracks, any sort of physical damage that could possibly create an unsafe situation for your vehicle. Again, I would use a wire brush in order to clean the hub center to make sure that you have a very good clean mounting surface to the hub as well. And I had also cleaned the hub with a wire brush in order to remove any sort of debris, rust, residue, oils, anything that could inhibit you properly retorquing the wheel. Also, it's a good chance to take a look at the rotor to see what sort of condition it's in. This one is very good. Take a look at the caliper. With many vehicles, you can actually inspect inside and see how much pad life you have left. This is a good time to inspect that. Doing a general inspection of the suspension. Since you've got the wheel off, it's a great opportunity just to have a physical look of just everything, and just if something doesn't feel right, investigate it further, or put the wheel back on and bring it to a mechanic for him to evaluate the situation as well. When you've reached the point where you want to reinstall the wheel, again, like I had mentioned earlier, it's very important to inspect the inside of not only the wheel, but also the general condition of the inside of the tire since you've got it off the vehicle. So what I'm talking about is rotate the wheel around, take a look to make sure that you do not see any cracks, punctures, swelling, bubbling, anything that indicates a tire is about to fail. Also inspect the rim for any sort of cracks or warps. Inspect the inside of the mounting area to make sure it's clean and free and it's not cracked. Just generally just do a visual inspection of everything inside the tire to ensure that it's safe. If there is an issue, address it immediately. Once you've done that, what you want to do is align the wheel up to the hub. Now, depending on whether you're using one with bolts or lug nuts, the lug nuts, they'll have the stem sticking out, and what you do is you lift the wheel and put it onto the stems. With BMW, they have the bolts, so you have to align hole to hole in the hub assembly, and then put the lug nuts on. or the bolts on. So I'm just going to put it into position. Now this requires a little bit of muscle. You need to lift and align it. Now I'll have to hold the rotor and twist the wheel until the holes align. Then I'm going to get the extension with one of the bolts and carefully guide it in. Then by hand, I'll start turning it until I can't turn it anymore. Do another one on the opposite side. Okay, now once all the bolts are hand tightened, what I want to do is use my wrench and just give them just enough of a tighten just to be snug. And again, I'll do it diagonally. Now I've gone from this one to this one. Now I'll go to this one, because that's diagonal from that bolt. Now I'll go from this one to this one. And then finally from this one to this one. Okay, the bolts have been hand tightened. The vehicle has been lowered to the ground. Now it's time to perform the star pattern torque. And what I mean by that is I will get a high quality torque wrench that's calibrated properly in Newton meters and in pound feet. And for this particular X5, the proper torque setting is 105 pound feet. And the star pattern that I was discussing was I'll start with one of the bolts, then I'll move diagonally to this one, then I'll move diagonally to this one, then this one, and then finally this one. And I'll perform that procedure 2 or 3 times. Many tire installers will do it a third time to guarantee that each of the either lug nuts or bolts is properly torqued, because this is crucial in order to ensure that the vehicle will drive vibration free, and more importantly that the wheel will not break free when you're on the highway or doing aggressive driving. So what I'll do is I'll start with one wheel. Now this has been already set to 105 pound feet for this vehicle, and I'll go down until I hear a clicking. And what the torque wrench is telling me is that I've hit 105 pound feet. It will not allow me to over torque, because that will be damaging. I'll move to this one. Okay. Then I'll move up to this one. Down to this one. Then finally to the locked one. Okay. So I'll perform that procedure 2 more times in order to ensure that all of them are torqued properly. Then once I've driven 30 miles, 50 kilometers, I'll retorque each one again, just to ensure that nothing has loosened and that the torquing procedure has been performed properly. It may seem like overkill until something catastrophic happens. There are several issues that can occur with modern tires, most of which occur with age. Here are the top problems that happen to vehicle tires. As rubber ages, it dries and begins to become brittle and loses its elasticity. The result is cracking or splitting anywhere on the rubber surface. Once this occurs, the tire will continue to deteriorate until it ruptures or fails to hold air. Bulges are weak areas in the tire structure, mostly on the sidewalls, that potentially develop from impacts with potholes or curbs, defects, or age. If the tire is less than a year old and is a factory defect, it should be reported to the retailer where you purchased it for a prorated credit towards a new tire. In order to prorate, the participating retailer will determine how much tread thickness has been used and apply a discount equivalent to the amount of tread life consumed on the tire. Occasionally, tires are punctured by nails, screws, metal objects, or even glass. In most cases, depending on the age of the tire, it can be patched from the inside. Damage done to the sidewalls or outer edges of the tread cannot be repaired and therefore need to be replaced. Also, a tire with more than 2 puncture patches cannot be repaired a third time. In that case, the tire again will have to be replaced. Through normal use, tires lose rubber on the treads. Once they reach the minimum tread thickness, they are no longer safe and need to be replaced. Some tires have tread wear indicator bars on the tread pattern that indicate when a tire has reached its lowest acceptable depth. If those tread wear indicators are not present, it becomes necessary to manually measure the tire depth. New tires are normally 8 to 9 millimeters deep, which is 5/16 to 6/16 of an inch deep. Once the depth reaches 1.6 millimeters or 1/16 of an inch deep, it no longer has enough traction to handle rainy or wet snow conditions and needs to be replaced. If tires are showing unequal tread wear, for example, center or sides or more to one side, it is a symptom of a problem. Alignment or camber issues could be present that are making the tire sit on the road not perpendicular to the road surface. Excessive wear in the center is caused by overinflation, and wear on the outer edges of the tread is caused by continuous underinflation. In all these cases, the tires need to be replaced. Tire maintenance is very important and quite simple to do. Tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars are riding on 4 tires. So the first thing that I would do with respect to proper tire maintenance is focus on the tire pressure. And the tire pressure for your vehicle can be found either in two places. The vehicle's owner's manual, or if you open the driver's door and look in the frame, there'll be a sticker there that will have the PSI rating for the front tires and the rear tires. Some vehicles, the PSI is the same for all four wheels. Sometimes it's not. So that's where I would go to get the proper pressure. Talking about proper pressure, just to illustrate, if you were to constantly overinflate your tire, which means the PSI is higher than recommended, what would end up happening is you wouldn't be able to see it, but the tire would be bowing in this direction, meaning that the center would be getting more of the tread wear. Correspondingly, if you constantly underinflated the tire, it would be concaving inward, meaning that the outer edges of the tire tread would be getting the lion's share of the tread wear. In both cases, your tire would be wearing out prematurely, meaning that you'd have to replace them quicker instead of getting the maximum value out of your tires. So again, always look at your owner's manual or the inside of the driver's door. Never follow the maximum pressure embossed on the side of the tires. That's not recommended. That's just maximum pressure that this particular tire can hold. The recommended and proper pressure, again, is in the owner's manual or in the driver's door sticker on the frame. The next step in tire maintenance would be maintaining the condition of your valve stem. So valve stems usually come with a cap, and the cap is not just cosmetic. The cap actually protects the internal mechanism of the valve, not allowing road dirt, salt, or soap residue to get in and prevent the internal mechanism, which is this, from actually operating. So this is what a traditional valve looks like, and the internal workings, you use a tool like this, and it has a special head which allows it to be threaded inside, and this is what allows air to either go in or come out of the valve from the inside of your tire. So it's always important that when you are not adjusting the tire pressure, to have it capped properly. The next step in tire maintenance is monitoring the tread depth of your tires. This is very important, especially if you're driving in rainy conditions or slippery conditions, because the tread on the tire is what is actually helping the tire, or the wheel and the car, obviously, to accelerate, but more importantly, to stop, because those treads are critical in gripping the road. There are a couple of ways to measure the tread depth. One is using a penny to check the depth, but if you want to be more accurate, you can use a digital tool like this. You can get those at any auto parts store, and what it does is you can measure. There's a little probe that goes down, and you put that this on the tire and push down until it stops. And what it'll do is it'll give you a digital readout, whether you want it in millimeters or fractions of an inch, and it'll tell you how much tread life is left. Anything lower than 1.6 millimeters or a 1/16 of an inch means that tire is worn out and needs to be replaced. Anything above that, the tire is still good. But again, if you're going to be driving in not optimal conditions, you might not want to let your tires drop to 1.6 millimeters or a 1/16 of an inch. So keep an eye on it every couple of months. Like I said, buy a little tool like this, small investment to maintain and monitor the tread depth on your tires. Another area with respect to tire maintenance is tire life. It is generally accepted that tires over 6 years old should be replaced. You can check this on the sidewall of your tire, because it'll be embossed with the month and the year that your tire was manufactured. So you'll be able to gauge when 6 years of life has been reached. In many cases, tires can be used after 6 years. If they're in good condition and have ample tread, there's no cracks, there's no damage to them, you may be able, and it may be wise to use them for a slightly extended period of time until the tires start showing signs of wear, and then that would be a time that you could replace your tires. Sometimes you can get a little bit more life out of tires beyond 6 years. 6 years is a set rate. What that means is if you were to get a puncture, no tire repair shop would fix it because it's reached its federal maximum. But for actual use of the tire, you could probably use it beyond 6 years. But again, after 6 years, you really have to keep an eye on the tires and make sure that they are safe, reliable, and in good condition. A very effective method in extending the life of your expensive tires is to rotate them once or twice per year, depending on the mileage placed on them. Depending on how your vehicle operates, front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, there are different rotation patterns to follow. In special cases, you may have directional tires, like snow tires, that require to be rotated only on one side of the vehicle, or a vehicle like a Porsche 911 Turbo with stepped tires, which have different diameters front and back and different tire widths front and back. Tires in this case can only be rotated laterally. If ever in doubt, consult your owner's manual or online forums. Tire sizing can seem a bit confusing and complicated, but if you break it down, it is understandable. Here's a very quick summary of the numbers and letters on your tire's sidewall. The letter at the beginning of the tire code represents the tire's class. It can either be with no lettering or a P, which represents a passenger car tire. LT stands for light truck tire, and SP is special trailer tire. The 3-digit number following the tire class represents the width. This is measured in millimeters. For example, if the number is 225, that represents 225 millimeters in total width. Next number represents the aspect ratio. It's a percentage of the height of the sidewall compared to the tire's width. The higher the number, the taller the tire is. Taller tires can be found on trucks, vans, and SUVs. Lower numbers represent thinner tires, which are found on sports cars or performance-related vehicles, which improves handling and lateral acceleration. After the aspect ratio number is a letter that represents the construction type. It can be an R, which stands for radial construction. It can be a D, which stands for bias ply construction, which is essentially non-existent in modern passenger vehicle tires. The 2-digit number next to the construction type indicates the diameter of the wheel that fits inside the tire. For example, 19 is a 19-inch wheel diameter. The last number represents the load index, or how much weight the tire can handle at proper inflation. Most passenger tires have a load index between 70 and 100, which equals 739 pounds to 1,764 pounds. The last letter represents the speed rating. This indicates the maximum speed the tire can handle. The lowest is L, which equals 75 miles an hour or 120 kilometers an hour, and the highest is Y, which equals 186 miles an hour or 300 plus kilometers an hour. These are the sort of tires you would find on a Koenigsegg. Treadwear estimates the distance the tires can achieve, but this is just an estimate. The higher the number, the higher the expected distance the tires can get. Most tires are rated between 200 and 700 plus. Traction measures how well the tire can stop in the wet. They are tested on wet concrete as well as wet asphalt. There are 4 grades, AA, A, B, and C, with AA being the best. Temperature rating is based on how well a tire can dissipate heat and not fail up to a maximum speed. The higher the speed, the higher the friction, and therefore the higher the heat generated, measured at sea level. There are 3 ratings. Speeds up to and over 115 miles an hour, A. Speeds between 100 and 115 miles an hour, B. And speeds below 100 miles an hour, C. There are several types of tires which are designed with specific tread patterns for use in different seasons, environments, or applications. Number 1, all-season tires. Designed for all year use, but it's really not recommended for use in winter conditions. Number 2, snow and winter tires. These tires, with their specific tread pattern and softer rubber construction, are superior in snow and ice. Number 3, all-terrain tires. Designed with a large and open tread pattern that assists with gripping in off-road situations. Number 4, mud terrain tires. Designed for extreme use in muddy locations. Number 5, performance tires. As the name indicates, they are designed for performance cars to enhance grip and handling. They are usually low profile or ultra low profile aspect ratio tires. Number 6, studded snow tires. Designed for Arctic-like situations for maximum grip on ice. Many countries ban them from public roads due to the damage they can cause to the road surfaces. Number 7, spare tires. Designed to be very compact and for temporary use only. Usually have a low temperature rating, meaning they can only be driven at speeds well below 100 miles an hour or 161 kilometers per hour. And finally, number 8, trailer tires, designed for trailers to handle weight. While it is recommended that you stick with the tire size that the manufacturer recommends, vehicles are designed for a larger tire application that will not interfere with either the suspension or the wheel arch. Most wheel tire installers use a +1 method if a larger wheel is desired. What this means is you can increase the tire's width by 10 millimeters and the tire's overall diameter by 1 inch. Many vehicles can accommodate more than +1, and the only way to determine that is to contact your local wheel tire installer for recommendations. I have personally used the +1 method on several different types of vehicles, and this enhances the overall appearance of the vehicle with no safety issues. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial on everything related to tires. Extending the life of your tires is a good idea for your bank account and good for the environment. No matter what you drive, even this little beauty, everything discussed applies to you. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and select the notification option. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and recommend us to your friends. Drive, your source for automotive reviews, analysis, maintenance, and restorations. Thanks for watching this tutorial on everything related to tires. I hope you found it beneficial. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and select the notification option. Also, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and recommend us to your friends. Drive, your source for automotive reviews, analysis, maintenance, and restorations.